What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video, we're going to talk about how there's additional stimulus check coming out this month, which is really good news. And we're going to talk about how the stimulus negotiations are back on, which is surprising because, well, we thought they were all but dead, but we got good news there. And also the CDC's new recommendations. Let's talk about what those could potentially be, because we are going to see updates on that possibly tomorrow. So I'm going to talk about all that and more in today's video. First off, if you enjoy these daily uploads, do me a favor, go ahead, hit that like button. Also, consider subscribing so you never miss an update. But let's get to the stimulus talks as of today. Here's what we know. Right now, there's going to be multiple cities and states that are providing additional stimulus checks starting this month. The reason for this is because many states and cities have a surplus of cash. So they're looking at ways to provide for their residents so that they can help them. The residents will get back on their feet and the economy will continue to go up. Here's what I can tell you. There's a lot of states, a lot of cities that are providing additional stimulus. I'm just going to give you a handful of them. First, we have Florida. Florida is actually considering another round of $1,000 stimulus checks to teachers and first responders. Florida has already done this in the past, but they're considering doing it again because, well, it got a lot of really good reviews. A lot of people loved it, probably teachers and first responders. But then the other thing was teachers are now feeling more appreciated because of this $1,000 stimulus check that they received. So guess what? More of them are continuing to teach as opposed to finding a different career. It's good news. In New Orleans, young adults ages 16 to 24, they're going to start receiving $350 per month for a full 10 months as part of the financial literacy program. Now, this is something that I want to bring to your attention because we've discussed this in the past, that Congress was actually looking into doing something like this. And I believe it came out of the House of Representatives. It ultimately went nowhere, but they were looking at providing high schoolers, I believe, with either $100 or $200 per month for their entire high school career. And that was going to teach them financial literacy. It's going to teach them savings and investing. I don't know how much a 16-year-old is going to save or invest, but they will be forced to because they will not get any access to this money until after they graduate. However, this bill went nowhere, and it looks like New Orleans decided to pick it up. In New York, a one-time payment of $2,750 will be given to about 36,000 tourism workers. What you need to keep in mind is that there's no application needed. The state is actually going to select individuals and contact them through text message or email. Now, here's what I want to address because I think this is ripe for fraud and scams. You got to be careful because being that the state is already coming out saying we're going to either send you a text message or an email, this is a cause for concern because it would be very easy for a scammer to go out there, make a little email coming from an official state host and try to get you to input your banking information where they can send you that $2,750. So here's my suggestion to you. If you get anything, call the state and figure out if it's legit. If you are seriously one of the people that got accepted, you must be a tourism worker. Also, wait for other people to get the exact same thing. And if yours looks a little bit different or theirs does, somebody's isn't authentic. And so you need to confirm before you go and send off your banking information because you do not want to get scammed. So I will have more information on that because I think it's crazy that they're going to do it this way. In Pittsburgh, 200 people are going to receive $500 per month for a full 24 months. This is actually part of their guaranteed income program. In Vermont, and I think this is interesting, if I live closer to Vermont, I would potentially do this. But Vermont's offering a stimulus relocation grant to anybody that relocates to the state on or after February 2022. This is going to be for $7,500. But in order to qualify for this, you must become a full-time resident and you have to work for a qualified employer. This means you cannot just come in and say, I'm starting a new business. I am an employee of this business. You actually have to work for an existing business in the state of Vermont. The reason for this is to get more people into the state so that they can be more workers and so that the workforce actually increases and the economy continues to go up. That's the whole purpose. And in Chicago, Illinois, the city is actually going to start sending out their $500 per month for their guaranteed income program. This is going to go out to 5,000 low-income families. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, well, my city or my state isn't on there. Is there anything for me? I promise I'm going to continue to look. There's a lot more programs out there. These are just the ones that I found right off the bat. So if you have any questions on a specific city or state, please let me know down in the comment section below. But let's talk about what Senator Joe Manchin is doing. This is interesting, okay? This report came out just a short while ago, but Senator Joe Manchin is back to negotiating the Build Back Better Act. Unfortunately, this negotiation is going to be quite different. Senator Manchin has already expressed his frustrations, and he has been very clear with Democrats and President Biden himself that he's not going to support the bill for multiple reasons. One of which he says that he knows the child tax credit payments will easily exceed $1.75 trillion alone, because that's also what the CBO has stated, the Congressional Budget Office. He says the problem is there's a lot of different provisions within this bill that many Democrats want to pass. But if we include all of them, it's just way too expensive, and we can't just cut them down. Now, according to Axios today, Senator Joe Manchin's open to discussing climate and the child care provisions within the Build Back Better Act. But here's where things get very interesting. He wants to include pre-K. This is also something that they have in West Virginia. Pre-K is there, and so are the child tax credit payments. But there's some major changes. Now, the changes for pre-K, there's really none, but there's changes for the child tax credit payments. First, Senator Joe Manchin doesn't want to extend the payments for a full 10 years because the payments could be very costly. It could cause massive inflation, which we'll know more about inflation in the next 10 days, because on January 12th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will have the new CPI data. But Senator Joe Manchin also wants to either see, and there's two different options, that there's a specific end date to the child tax credit payments, and they will not be extended past that. Even with new legislation, cannot be extended. Or the most likely option, these payments go to less people, meaning that the income is actually reduced. The income limit for individuals and families is drastically reduced. And the last number that I saw, and this was back when they were still discussing the child tax credit payments, was what about $50,000 to $60,000 for couples, which means $25,000 to $30,000 for individuals. That would greatly lower the amount of people that qualify for this payment, which would ultimately lower the amount of money that goes out. So Senator Joe Manchin could be open to that idea. Now, according to Axios, the likely options right now is that Congress passes the Build Back Better Act without any child tax credit payment included. I know for parents, I know for children, that's going to be tough. But the reason for this is if they pass the Build Back Better Act without the child tax credit payments, it's going to make it easier for the Senate to pass it. I don't know about the House. Then, once this gets passed, Democrats will renegotiate the entire bill and the provisions that didn't get passed, and they will ultimately make the child tax credit payments a permanent fixture sometime in 2023 and beyond, probably for another 9 years. But in doing so, they will require Republicans to also jump on board, which as of right now, we know Senator Mitt Romney, he'd be on board, and there's probably a handful of others. But are there 10 Republicans that will jump on board? Probably not. Now, there are multiple reports that say a handful of Republicans do support the child tax credit payments, but do we have a full 10 that would support it? Again, as of right now, I don't know. But let's talk about the CDC and COVID, because this is the news coming out today. The CDC is now considering asymptomatic people that test negative, that right now what we could see is they could break their isolation period. Now, the current guidance is people that are testing positive, you have to stay isolated for 5 days. Then if you are vaccinated, or I believe if you're vaccinated or not, you can then go on about your day. But if you're still still having symptoms, then you should either not isolate, but wear a mask. Just wear a mask for another 5 days, because after 5 days, the CDC says the chances of you infecting another person are very, very low. So right now, the CDC is considering amending the rule to just include testing. So people who don't show any signs of COVID, any symptoms, they could go back to work as soon as they test negative. Now, we have heard a lot of reports on that today. We've heard Dr. Anthony Fauci discuss that. We've heard multiple health experts discuss it as well. This is likely going to be the option moving forward, and chances are we see this guidance either happen tomorrow or Tuesday. So, as we know more, I promise I'll come back on, fill you in all latest news and updates, but that is what we know as of right now. So, if you enjoyed today's update, do me a favor, go ahead, hit that like button, also consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.